Welcome back to Top 10 Tunes, your top 10 channel for everything music related. Today, we're looking at the top 10 punk albums of all time as chosen by Rolling Stone magazine. At number 10 is Nevermind by Nirvana. Arguably one of the biggest albums of the 1990s, this album helped punk rock music reach the mainstream. A flagship for grunge and alternative music styles, this album is chock full of superior songwriting and great sonics. At number 9 is Los Angeles by X. Despite being a hardcore punk band in the 1980s, this band is surprisingly musical. Stripping away the distortion and dissonance, essentially what you have is fantastic rockabilly guitar playing by guitarist Billy Zoom. As a nod to their Los Angeles contemporaries, this album proves that punk rock music was no mere flash in the pan. Coming in at number 8 is Damaged by Black Flag. Featuring new frontman Henry Rollins, this album would add the muscularity associated with hardcore punk music, as well as including heavy metal elements that were previously lacking. While controversial in putting emphasis on violence in the hardcore punk scene, this music finally married punk rock with its political ethos. At number 7 is Double Nickels on the Dime by Minutemen. Is it punk rock? Technically yes, but you'd be forgiven as a listener for hearing elements of blues, psychedelic, and even country rock influences. This San Pedro, California band proved to be antagonizing, even within the punk rock community itself. By putting equal emphasis upon the guitar, bass, and drums, this group existed as one entity. Their punk rock ethos came from musical expression. Coming in at number 6 is Pink Flag by Wire. Jagged and angular, this album would be influential in its songwriting rather than its musicianship. What we see here is an art rock interpretation of punk rock music. Predating the American New Wave, this album would signal the post-punk that can be heard in Joy Division and even The Cure. Rounding out our top 5 is Entertainment by Gang of Four. Another instance where musicianship is sorely lacking, this album, however, became a danceable favorite. By leaning on the drum and bass interplay, as well as polyrhythmic activity, Entertainment by Gang of Four was the British equivalent of any Talking Heads album. At number 4 is Funhouse by The Stooges. Predating punk altogether, this group had the archetypical frontman in Iggy Pop. Their second record, this garage band had lurching rhythms, heavy riffs, and often unintelligible lyrics. Simple, manic, even childish, this album would signal what's to come. At number 3 is Nevermind the Bollocks, Here's the Sex Pistols by, you guessed it, the Sex Pistols. While for many the archetypical punk rock band, this group was actually formed by the managers of Acme Attractions' clothing shop. Not surprisingly, style had a lot to do with this record, the only released by the band. An active group for only over a year, this album's influence can still be felt in both punk rock and mainstream rock musicians today. At number 2 is The Clash by The Clash. While London Calling would be the group's entrance into the mainstream, this debut album showed many of the influences that would rear their heads much later. By putting emphasis on the dub and reggae influences of bassist Paul Simonon, The Clash would create a more colorful painting of the English punk subculture. And at number 1 is Ramones by the Ramones. Arguably the first proper punk rock group, this group would perform mainly at CBGB in New York throughout the mid-70s. Despite all sharing the last name Ramone, none of them are related. Matching biker jackets, all downstroke picking, and very simple song structures would be the calling cards for this band. At their heart, they proved that punk rock music was basically simple rock and roll songs, performed with energy, emotion, and joy. Thank you for watching Top 10 Tunes. Be sure to comment your suggestions down below, as well as like this video and subscribe to the Top 10 Tunes channel. We'll see you next time.